It's estimated that 75% of podcasts don't make it past episode 7. Currently, there are 2.5 million podcasts listed on the podcast directories, but out of those, only 450,000 are actually active. This means that almost 2 million podcast hosts have ghosted their shows. This is a tragedy because podcasting can help you generate leads and sales, build your authority and relationships, and can provide you with incredible networking opportunities. Why do you think the most successful business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and authors all have a podcast? This is why I don't want your podcast to fail. So, in this video, you and I, we're going to look at the top 7 reasons why podcasts fail and why yours won't. We have a lot to cover, so we better hurry up and start. Hey amigo, welcome to the Pod Sound School. I'm Veronica, your marketing girl, and our channel is a must for creators or entrepreneurs who want to learn more about content creation, marketing, and podcasting. To stay updated with our weekly videos and our community posts, make sure that you give a push to the subscribe button and a clickety-click to the thumbs up button. Before we get into the juicy stuff, I have an exciting announcement. We, the Pod Sound School, are hosting a live interactive bootcamp in 2 weeks at the time I'm recording this video. It's called Podcasting for Entrepreneurs and Business Owners, and it's a 2-day live podcast bootcamp designed to immerse you in the world of podcasting and teach you how to create a lead-generating and thriving podcast for your business. So if you have a small business or are gathering the courage to start one, this bootcamp is a great fit for you. Come check it out by going to podcastingsmart.com/bootcamp. Okay, so now to the juicy stuff. Okay, so let's reveal number 1. Loss of enthusiasm. The first flop on this list, this podcasting error is an easy trap to fall into. Podcasters at this party may perceive a lack of support from friends and family, or struggle to get any feedback from listeners, or simply become more interested in other new shiny objects and hobbies. Sometimes they become resentful of their low listenership or lack of downloads. They feel underappreciated or unseen. It doesn't take long for the honeymoon period of a brand new show to come crashing down, and for podcasters to quickly be slapped in the face with the reality that podcasting can be a tremendous amount of work. Especially when time is spent in the wrong way. Which brings us perfectly to number 2. Improper task management. Even more common, they screw up, sends podcasts barreling down the drain. And the worst part about this game is that it's so easy to play, especially considering that podcast education is so sparse and misdirected. Many podcasters use wrong and completely inefficient audio editing apps, and the podcasters who actually attempt to edit do so with a whole slew of bad habits that accumulate to hours of wasted time each week. Good task management commonly includes things like batch recording, batch editing, outsourcing, time blocking, and streamlined scheduling. Podcasters on this team lose many hours each week scrambling to come up with topic ideas only minutes before they were supposed to press record. And as a result, the episodes don't come out as concise, which in turn requires more editing and also hurts the overall clarity and quality of the important takeaways and messages from each episode. And this is where number 2 bleeds into number 3, because it also has to do with mismanaged time. And that is doing everything solo. As we climb the ranks, this dirty little disaster is commonplace. I don't know if it's fear-based or if so many of us are just control freaks, but it can be really hard for some people to let go of their show so that it can grow. By far, the biggest hurdle and time-consuming aspect of podcasting is the editing. And yet, podcasters famously insist that they cannot afford to hire an editor to help them, which is preposterous. It takes 3 hours to edit an average podcast episode. 3 weekly hours you could be spending on show development and promotion. And as the CEOs of their shows, there are many tasks more important than editing. But low self-worth and limited money mindsets keep these DIYers hooked to the hamster wheel. And what happens? Well, eventually they crack. Let's reveal number 4. Mixed bag of topics or no direction. We've now crossed the middle mark, and these goofs are truly unforgivable and also painfully more prevalent. Whether it's a smorgasbord of random topics or a general lack of direction, shows in this group are pros at turning listeners away. These podcasts are the ones that have a completely different topic every episode, or out of place, hard to understand series within their shows, or strange or esoteric episode titles. Or these are the podcasts that never include episode intros, never introduce what their shows are about, or tell their listeners what to expect. A mixed bag of topics is extremely hard to pull off and only works if there is something that binds all the topics together and remains relevant to the select audience. But these creatives insist that because they have so many different topics that interest them, that their listeners would also relate. That people want natural conversations and tangents. What happens? The listener runs away, never to return, and the podcast fades out into oblivion. Okay, we're getting more sinful and even more common. There's only 3 more to go. Let's reveal number 5. Unrealistic expectations. These podskis are the ones that give up too easily. They lack commitment. Maybe they were coaxed into podcasting by a podcaster that they admire, or a guru that made promises of the life-changing results a podcast would bring. But then, after producing 6 or 7 episodes and only seeing a few downloads on their analytics, and knowing that most of those were generated by themselves, they claim, "It's not working. This isn't for me. It's not worth my time. Some people are not cut out for this.
I don't look comfortable on camera."
Watch out! This group of podcasters are filled with excuses and riddled with delusions. They're too hungry for that instant gratification, for that viral episode or internet jackpot that they see everyone else celebrating. However, this batch of podcasters are definitely not lazy. In fact, quite the contrary. But what's likely going on under the surface is something in the family of insecurity, fear of failure, or fear of success. The sad truth is, these are the podcasters with the most potential, because even though they have a big box full of excuses, they also have an insatiable appetite for recognition, which happens to be a defining quality of the most successful podcast hosts and producers. So if you fall into this category, it may be a good idea to leave any expectations behind you and trust in the process of what comes from committed work and steadily making deposits towards a project that will likely span many years, not just a few short weeks. Okay, I'm getting a little scared for the next one. Second to last, let's reveal number 6. Bad audio. 0 editing. I knew this one would be on the list. I just didn't think it was going to be so high. But it's a painful reality of the majority of podcasts. They sound like crap. And although the arguments and excuses are plentiful, things like people don't care if the audio is low quality, or they're just listening on their phones, or they tune into Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces and that audio sucks.
I don't change my underwear.
But if you really look at the habits of most podcast listeners, they actually don't listen through their phone or even their laptop speakers. They listen in earbuds, headphones, or through car speakers, all of which intensify the listening experience and bring out every nuance of the recordings. This is a very intimate listening environment for the listener, and here's a short list of common complaints listeners have on this issue. One voice is much louder than the other. Noise is much louder than the voice. Sudden clicks or pops. Overall volume issues. Either too low, too loud, or inconsistent volume episode to episode. This doesn't mean every podcast has to sound top quality to be a success. But the audio has to be clear, consistent, and free of too much noise. And here we are! The moment you've been waiting for. The number 1 reason why podcasts fail. No marketing strategy. This oversight is far and wide the reason most podcasts are dead in the water before they even start. Thinking of a podcast as a business may take the fun out of it for some of the podcasters in this crew. Having a marketing plan or what you imagine the business side of your podcast may look like in a few years is key to not only creating a better show for a hungry crowd, but also to be able to get a return on your efforts and your investment of time and money. The professional and financial benefits of having a strong show are immense, which is why every top influential business owner, entrepreneur, influencer, or author has a podcast. Podcasts are undeniably effective at generating leads, advertising your own products or services, fostering relationships, building authority, and facilitating powerful networking. So why wouldn't you want to take advantage of all these things and start a podcast without, at the very least, making a sketch or a short few paragraphs of what your marketing strategy is going to be? And that concludes the big 7 bumbles, fumbles, and failures. What did you think? Are you currently making any of these mistakes? Which one do you identify with the most? Let me know in the comments. These mishaps and slip-ups are all part of the learning process. They are the very mistakes responsible for building some of the greatest shows, because it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there and start to share content with others online. There will be inevitable setbacks and personal battles, obstacles, and yes, total failure. In fact, knowing that you're going to mess up is one of the things you can count on the most. So rather than get discouraged or lose enthusiasm, embrace that failure and dance with it. Then when you get knocked on your ass, stand up, dust yourself off, and get back in the ring. And now that you know all the top reasons podcasts fail, we can use that information to ensure that yours doesn't. Here are 7 things you can do to ensure success. First, keep an attitude of enthusiasm for your show, learn from your mistakes, and be willing to adapt as you go. Second, take time to plan and schedule every task related to your podcast production and keep track of the time each task takes you to complete. Third, ask for help. Remember, you are the CEO, you are the talent. Find the tasks that are busy work and outsource those tasks to other people. Fourth, tell your listeners where each episode is going to take them. Don't make a show for you, make a show for them. Fifth, a podcast is a slow thing to grow that requires commitment and a constant drive to improve. You will suck, you will fail, so keep learning and keep adapting. Sixth, take some time and educate yourself on audio production. Learn about my technique, editing basics, and how to reduce noise from your recordings. Seventh, build a marketing strategy for your show. Conduct market, topic, and keyword research. Do not assume you know what your audience wants. Collect data and information from them about what they want. And since lack of marketing is the #1 reason podcasts fail, it's critical that you learn more about marketing. In this video here, we take a deep dive into marketing and content strategy for creators, podcasters, and entrepreneurs. It's never too late to incorporate a marketing strategy into your podcast. And if you're just starting a podcast, watch this video, take out a piece of paper, and take notes, and let's make a marketing plan together.